All right, today we're unpacking a really fascinating paper that connects the most futuristic, high-tech hotels with a past that's, well, surprisingly ancient. It turns out the secret to the future of hospitality might have been written centuries and centuries ago.
I mean, it sounds like something straight out of a movie, right? But believe it or not, at the Hen Na Hotel in Japan, this is totally real. The first faces, or I guess snouts, that greet you are these multilingual robot dinosaurs, ready to get you all checked in. And trust me, that is just the beginning. Hotels all over the world are in this wild technological arms race. Over in New York, a giant robotic arm handles your luggage. In Tokyo, you can literally use a mood pad to change the room's lighting to match exactly how you're feeling. And if you get hungry in Singapore, a little AI-powered robot just rolls right up to your door with your order. The whole idea of service is basically being rewritten in code. But here's the thing. For all this flashy, high-tech gadgetry, another revolution, a much quieter one, has completely changed how and where we stay when we travel. And it's not based on silicon at all, but on something much more, well, human.
I'm talking about the sharing economy, of course. It's this whole model built on a simple consumer-to-consumer, or C2C, idea. You can pretty much forget the big corporations. Here, it's all about people sharing what they already have, their car, their skills, or in this case, their home.
And as you know, one company took this idea and just ran with it, Airbnb. It all started back in 2008 with a couple of roommates just trying to make rent, and it absolutely exploded into this massive global thing. Suddenly, anyone, anywhere, could rent out a spare room or their whole house to travelers. And this leads us to the big question at the heart of the paper we're looking at today. Is this whole idea, one person opening their home to a stranger, a travel network built on individual hosts instead of big hotel chains, is that really a 21st century invention? Or have we seen this all before?
Well, it turns out we absolutely have. Way back in the 12th century, travelers would stay in these roadside inns called Caravanserais. And when you put their models side by side with Airbnbs, the parallels are just stunning. Both are built on peer-to-peer hospitality. Sure, Airbnb is a digital platform, and the Caravanserai was a physical hub, but their purpose was the same. They were social and commercial gathering spots, built on community. The tech is new, but the idea? It's ancient.
Okay, let's dig into this because that connection between the modern sharing economy and ancient history, it goes even deeper. And this isn't just about things from 1,000 years ago. The paper points to this incredible example from the 1950s in Turkey. Long before anyone had even thought of couch surfing or Airbnb, locals in this one district were already living the model. They'd just welcome backpackers into their homes, give them a place to stay for free, purely out of the sense of hospitality. It just goes to show you, the modern sharing economy is really a digital comeback for a very old, very human tradition. So, if this peer-to-peer model is so old, what happened? How did we get from these community-run inns to the huge hotel chains we have today? Let's trace that journey. So, the whole thing started back in the 12th century with military outposts turning into public inns called Hans and Caravanserais. These were real social hubs for trade, and for centuries that was the way it was. Then, boom, 1895, the Para Palace opens in Istanbul, bringing in a whole new kind of European luxury. By the 1950s, big global brands like Hilton show up and really kick off the corporate hotel industry we know now. And then, in 2008, it all comes full circle. Airbnb shows up and revives that original peer-to-peer model, just supercharged by the internet. Just think about what these original inns were providing. A caravanserai wasn't just a place to crash. It was a whole social service. It gave travelers free lodging, free food, and security for up to 3 days. These places were basically the engines of their time. They were essential for the flow of commerce, of information, of culture. I get this. The history is literally baked right into our language. The paper points out that the English word we use every day, inn, comes directly from the Turkish word han, which was the name for those early communal lodges. It's like a little linguistic fossil connecting us directly to this ancient tradition. How cool is that? So, where does all this history leave us? What does it teach us about where the world of hospitality is headed next? Okay, so the big challenge for hotels today, whether you're talking about a giant chain or a tiny boutique, is figuring out this balance. How do you bring in all this amazing, efficient technology without losing the one thing that technology just can't replicate, a genuine, warm human connection?
The dilemma really boils down to this. On one hand, technology gives us amazing stuff like speed, efficiency, and that initial wow factor of, say, a robot bellboy. But on the other hand, the human touch gives us something tech can't: empathy, real connection, and just the simple warmth of another person after a long, tiring trip.
And that leads us to this really powerful conclusion from the paper. After the novelty of being served by a robot wears off, guests often find themselves just missing a person. Because at the end of the day, the research suggests that the most fundamental thing that determines the true quality of service is, and always has been, human. So what's the big picture here? What should you take away from this? Well, first, that today's biggest disruptions, like the sharing economy, are often just new versions of really old ideas. Second, the future isn't about choosing tech or touch. It's about blending them perfectly. And finally, that even the words we use, like in, tell a deep story of cultural history. And the paper leaves us with this final, really provocative thought. If our word in comes from Han, should we embrace that heritage more directly? Instead of a holiday inn, what about a tatil Han? That's Turkish for holiday Han. It's a fascinating idea, right? That maybe the most innovative way forward is to fully embrace the cultural history that made it all possible in the first place. What do you think?